Hey, you guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven, accompanied by Queen Taylor, and today we're taking a look at something very controversial, and it even has sparked some controversy in our own community.
Yes, it has.
It has just by this video. So I'll tell you, I'll give you like a summary of what happened. This video won a spin the wheel. So we have a spin the wheel, lands on it, boop. There's 5 other choices and people vote on which one we go react to. This one got the vote, and a lot of people were saying, "Hey, just go watch the movie. Just watch the original thing that aired, not this documentary that kind of sums it all up." And we were like, "Okay, but that's not what won the poll." You know what I mean? So we were like, all right, let's do another vote. Let's do another vote to see which version or which thing that we're going to do. And this documentary won that vote again. So it's won twice now. So just to keep it fair, and we're a democracy, we really try to appease you guys. There is some interesting little tidbits too here. That movie, maybe if this documentary gets us intrigued enough, we'll go back and we'll watch that movie and we'll air it. But I'm already seeing like big major red flags. The major red flags is present even in this one, and it says, due to previous copyright claims from BBC Studios, this version of the video is heavily edited. We've done our best to maintain its flow and impact when telling its story. BBC Studios copyrights everything we do, basically. They know who we are. We've been sent emails by BBC Studios. Yeah, we're like the only ones too. Trust me, I've asked around.
At massive risk with them, basically.
Yeah.
So we have to be very, very, very careful.
They know us by name, which is weird. Like when the BBC, they didn't say, "Hey, Killer McKnight." No, they said, "Hey, Steven and Taylor." That was sketch. Scary. That was scary.
That's when your heart falls out of your butt.
So that right there is like, okay, I don't want to deal with this movie because of that.
With all that being said,
let's hop on over to Ghostwatch. Doo doo doo. The banned BBC documentary that went too far. It went too far, Taylor. It got banned. All right, let's hop on over the video and let's get started. The following video contains discussion of the paranormal, the supernatural, as well as brief mentions of suicide.
It was Halloween night in the year 1992. Whilst children went door to door, trick-or-treating in the hopes of bagging some tasty sweets, viewers up late were in for their own kind of shock. On the nation's flagship channel, BBC One, a special programme was due to air, one that promised to unravel mysteries and provide footage that some audiences may find a little disturbing. From 9:25, for the next 90 minutes, 11 million Brits would be transfixed to their television screens, presented with a programme that in almost every aspect looked as though it was happening before their very eyes. It was a programme that would cause fear, an uproar, and even led to some pretty horrific consequences. This is the story, the impact, and the legacy of Ghostwatch.
Ghostwatch.
We begin at the end of the 80s and the dawn of the 90s, and a strand of one-off plays and dramas build under the banner of Screen One. A sequel series of sorts to the BBC's long-running Play for Today strand, Screen One aimed to build upon the groundwork laid by its older sibling, Screen Two, which had been delivering high-quality dramas on BBC Two for some time. By the time of both channels' rebrands in early 1991, Screen One had delivered the goods, in the form of positively reviewed and even some award-winning programmes, such as Newshounds featuring Adrian Edmondson, and The Accountant, starring Alfred Molina. To cap off the 4th series of Screen One, writer Stephen Volk was tasked with a special programme that would air on Halloween night 1992. The concept was simple: showcase an investigation into a normal, everyday home that was supposedly haunted by some form of ghost. This may sound like a commonplace form of TV programme today, but back in the early 90s, the concept, especially in Britain, was still very much in its infancy. To front the programme, Volk wanted well-known BBC talent, faces that the audience would instantly recognise and cling on to for reassurance throughout the transmission. For the lead presenter, Michael Parkinson was chosen. Parky seemed like the perfect choice, a natural in front of the cameras and a seasoned pro when it came to interviewing people and just leading a TV program in general. He was a calm, knowledgeable, and reassuring presence to have on set, so his selection for a show like this, which by nature may cause fear amongst viewers, seems apt. Joining him in the studio was Mike Smith, known as Smithy to many. He'd been a familiar face on the Beeb for some time, having co-presented on Breakfast Time, as well as heavy hitters like Top of the Pops and The Late Late Breakfast Show, even being one of the main presenters to front coverage of Live Aid for the BBC in 1985.
Wow.
He was also a racing driver and a qualified helicopter pilot. Avoiding a near-fatal crash in 1988, his passenger would soon become his wife and would also be involved with the Ghostwatch project. Sarah Green was a face known to many millions, but particularly to children. She was one of the main presenters on Blue Peter from 1980 to 1983 and had gone on to front many a children's programme such as Saturday Superstore and Going Live. She had a warm, friendly presence, someone children felt that they could easily become their best friend. She was approachable, compassionate and understanding, and it seemed an unlikely choice that she would play such a main part in such a programme as Ghostwatch.
So that's how they got him. They're like, we're going to take these nice, wholesome people that people really love and respect and enjoy and trust. And we're going to scare the shit out of everybody using them.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? Gosh, who the hell is there's a show on the History Channel that has a presenter like that, where it's like, I've known you forever. And it's some ghost story thing. It's like, but that's what this kind of reminds me of. Yeah, you got somebody.
You're talking about Unsolved Mysteries? Maybe?
Yes. Who is that dude?
I can't remember.
But you know the old.
Yeah.
It's like, no, John. Like,
yeah.
It's
so my mom. I don't know if she still does, but she used to watch a lot of these like paranormal type shows where people would be like, yeah, we bought this house, and all of a sudden my son started acting weird, and I would look and he'd be thrown across the room and we would wake up with scratches and like all that kind of stuff. And I think I've like, because I'd like when I was living over closer to her still, and I'd go hang out with her sometimes. We'd be just lounging around, like waiting for dinner to cook, and she would have it on. We would watch. And I remember seeing some that happened in like specifically England, and it's just making me curious.
So I'm curious if Ghostwatch was the first one. It kind of sounds like it, because I mean, those paranormal activity TV shows, I feel like, are a big thing in America, and maybe they're a big thing everywhere. But it feels
during
like
this time period, it wasn't. Yeah.
We had movies like The Exorcist, things that date back, probably before the 90s that were scary. Like we had horror movies.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Ghostwatch was just like a before its time.
Well, it also seems like, I mean, people know that like, they'd probably seen The Exorcist and been like, this is a movie. But for this, it seems
real.
Like they thought this was really real. So it's like terrifying because you're like, oh my gosh. Well, it's not a movie. This is really happening.
Kind of a mockumentary type thing was the Blair Witch Project, is what I would like equate this to, or the Paranormal Activity movies.
Yeah.
But is this the one that started a genre? Like you have Dark Souls that started the Souls-like genre for gaming. Is this the Paranormal Activity genre? Let's find out.
Her role would be as the main BBC presence on the ground inside the haunted house, meeting and talking with family members and being first witness to any strange goings-on. Finally, we have Craig Charles, because why not? Craig had become a familiar face on telly, not least for his main role as Dave Lister in the sci-fi comedy series Red Dwarf, which had been airing on the BBC since 1988. A great personality in his own right, Craig would also be present out on location, but would mostly stay outside of the house, chatting with onlookers and interviewees. Wow. With everything in place, Ghostwatch was lined up and set to be transmitted at 9:25 PM on BBC One on Halloween night. But days before that scheduled broadcast, it was at risk of being pulled altogether. Getting nervous over how the broadcast would be received, higher-ups at the BBC discussed pulling Ghostwatch entirely. However, those radical nerves subsided and a compromise was reached. As to what that was, we'll touch on that a little bit later.
What was the compromise?
But all was back on track.
He just said they'll touch on it.
Yeah, but I mean, so this wasn't live, right? So they staged it as if it was live happening on Halloween.
Yeah.
But really they recorded it, so it was like a pre-recorded thing that wasn't real.
What I want to know is he said that Craig Lister,
Yeah.
was it Craig? Was out there like, you know, talking to interviewees and stuff. So were those people a part of it, or did they like were those people really like thinking all this stuff is happening and they're giving like real testimonials, things based off that they think this is real? Or are they basically like actors and like stand-ins?
Touche. Yeah, I don't know. How fake is it?
Yeah.
25 p.m. rolled around on the 31st of October, and the nation sat down and tuned in to Ghostwatch.
Now on BBC One, Screen One presents an unusual and sometimes disturbing film marking Halloween. Over the centuries, there have been countless reports of ghosts and ghouls, but the line between fact and fiction has always been unclear. Using the modern idiom of the outside broadcast, Michael Parkinson, Sarah Green, Mike Smith and Craig Charles star in Ghostwatch.
The programme you're about to watch is a unique live investigation of the supernatural.
Michael Parkinson.
I like how they made it real extra spooky by having skulls along the top of the banister there and like the ones upside down.
Oh, yeah.
Is a unique live investigation of the supernatural.
Michael Parkinson dutifully introduces the programme and our main setting of the house on Fox Hill Drive. We see some footage recorded some months prior of two young girls settling down to sleep. That is until the early hours when something horrific takes place.
Oh, and then the cheesy freaking.
We're introduced to Dr.
80s
Lynn
music
Pascoe,
pops in.
an expert in such ghostly matters, who's going to be Parky's main co-panelist throughout the night. We see Craig Charles out on location, being his typical jovial self, implying that perhaps he's not quite convinced at the supposed spooky goings-on.
And she's going to take us through the whole spine-tingling story.
He then passes on to Mike Smith, who's helping to helm the phone lines for Ghostwatch, taking calls from people up and down the country who wish to share their own experiences. The phone number is shown on screen numerous times.
Okay, so again, is this real or part of the script? Like, are these people really calling in with their experiences, or are they like actors calling in?
It's
This is
gotta
what
be
I'm
scripted.
like, yeah,
It's
right?
a movie, you
At what
guys.
point is it scripted and what's like people really thinking that this is actually happening and is their real experiences?
It's a movie that they made into a real, it's supposed to feel real. Like they were probably at the moment that this was going on, people were trying to call in.
Yeah.
And it was like, meh, meh, or they had like a pre-recorded tape.
So they already had people set up to call in and say like these things.
100,000%.
Prompting viewers to get in touch. Before we enter the house on Fox Hill Drive, we see some of the kit that the presenters will be working with, including an infrared camera, something that was very state-of-the-art back in 1992. Sarah, together with a cameraman and sound engineer, enter the property, meeting Mum Pam and her two girls, Suzanne and Kim.
But I was sure I could see a figure standing behind, against the wall, just by the curtain.
After some time in the studio and taking viewer calls, we return to the house, where 15 minutes in, Sarah gets her first taste of the strange goings-on. Or does she?
Is that Dave Lister?
So, the first scare is a prank, conducted by Craig Charles, giving Sarah a
you
fright.
bastard.
It's a good gag to set up what's to come, using Craig's jovialness and lack of seriousness regarding the events of the programme to lure viewers into some false sense of security. We learn more about some of the strange occurrences, including a thudding sound heard by all in the home, ultimately referring to the originator of this sound as pipes.
So afterwards, whenever Kim heard something, she'd say, "It's pipes."
Who Kim has reportedly seen hiding in a cupboard under the staircase and going off her drawing, looks pretty horrific. Pam
Wow.
talks more about this particular room and her experiences of being trapped within it, supposedly with pipes inside.
I felt this man in there with me.
What makes it more emotional is that any attempts Pam made to raise these goings-on with either her local council or even local news and television resulted in ridicule and sensationalism, a trait that still very much would occur today. Back in the studio, Dr. Pascoe shows us some footage she took of the girls coming in for various tests.
But that's the thing, is like, ghosts aren't real, right? you know? And a lot of that comes with speculation, especially back in that time frame. So her testimonial about that, and then it's so believable. That's what I'm trying to. I have to, because we're not watching the actual thing. This is all fake, 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 fake.
Yeah.
And to suggest that, oh no, this was based on true events or something like that, maybe, but this isn't. Ghostwatch was.
Right.
And I have to like remind myself that repeatedly as I'm watching this.
Yeah.
With one audio recording being played back, revealing a rather disturbing revelation.
Oh dear God, Susan.
It's implied that this voice is the voice of pipes, possessing the girls and speaking through them. The fact that there's no visuals, instead we only have the revolving reels of tape to go off, arguably makes the whole moment feel even more unnerving.
Face of that girl with these extraordinary marks on them.
We add a new element into things with a satellite call with Dr. Silvestri, an American who casts extreme doubt into the whole story, infuriating Pasco.
Emilio.
Lynn, you ought to be selling crystals on Venice Beach or a palm reading. A counselor?
Back at the house, all seems calm and quiet. Not much of the supernatural going on. There are small things, though, including some revelations from Sarah's crew.
And I noticed that my watch had stopped.
What time? When?
Just before we went on air.
Just over halfway through the film.
All right, this is unrelated. This is like the third time I've seen those apples hanging from string. Why? What is that? What? It's like, I wanted to ask the first time. I was like, I'm going to let it go. I saw it the second time. I was like, just let it go. This is the third time. I can't let it go anymore. I want to know why.
You know, it's, I'm going to be the first. Don't even erase the comment. Erase the comment. I'll do the first comment. You're going to have to watch Ghostwatch to know why. You're just going to have to watch the Ghostwatch.
Maybe it's something like,
paranormal.
That doesn't have to do anything with paranormal.
It makes your house smell really nice.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's how they... I don't know.
Runtime, the first major discovery inside the house is revealed.
Now, can you see this?
I certainly can, clearly.
Well, there's no way it could have got there.
This odd occurrence is followed by some issues with the taps.
Do you see this? The stain on the carpet.
There's a stain on the carpet. It's clearly only paranormal activity.
There's no way this... Do you guys have dogs?
Do you have children?
Do you have children? Is there cups in the house? There's no way.
There's no way it could have got there.
This odd occurrence is followed by some issues with the taps, as we see Sarah ever so slightly start to show signs of some fear. As more calls come through back in the studio, Parky is seemingly becoming less and less convinced of the whole premise about ghosts, and his exasperation towards some of these callers becomes less and less subtle.
Serious calls, please. The lines are still open.
In Fox Hill Drive, Sarah starts hearing various strange noises, and when she tries to find the source, the girls run in declaring that Pipes is here. As Sarah is still unable to find the source of the thudding, the dialogue between her and her colleagues back in the studio becomes more and more frantic, starting to show the cracks in what would normally be a professional broadcast.
Sarah, stay where you are, please. Sarah, stay there, please. Don't go upstairs.
What?
Eventually, Sarah and her crew make a discovery.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
In the studio, the mood is rather solemn, and
kid
Michael
doing
Parkinson
that?
decides it's time to declare what he feels is a conclusion.
Very sadly, what we witnessed was a remarkable exposure of a hoax.
Let's not be too hasty.
Whilst Dr.
Let's
Pascoe
not be
tries to
too
provide
hasty.
solutions to what's been seen, the look on Parky's face tells you all you need to know that for him, his mind is made up. The
This is
distress the event
dramatic.
has caused for the girls, Suzanne in particular, is equally clear to see.
It was what you wanted, wasn't it? We just gave you what you wanted.
Dr. Silvestri makes another appearance from New York, feeling rather smug with himself, something that is quite frankly a bit too much for Dr. Pascoe.
You played into their hands. Primetime TV, Alice in Wonderland couldn't take it anymore.
More calls are coming in, with Smithy and his operators struggling to keep up, and yet again, as more callers are heard live on air, Michael does his best to try and stave away potential panic that the viewers may be starting to feel.
Please, we don't want to give anybody sleepless nights. We don't want to start panic.
Later, we see some more pre-filmed footage, this time between Kim and Dr. Pascoe, and the young girl provides a rather vivid description of what Pipes supposedly looks like.
This guy's got all blood all over his eye and scratch coming out, and then...
Cutting back to the house, Sarah heads upstairs to see that the blood markings on Suzanne's face have reappeared, yet again, seemingly out of nowhere.
Is that the mom?
Get away from...
No, Mom, they have to stay. They have to see everything.
Whilst the team on the ground attempt to help the child, Dr. Pascoe and Parky take a rather harrowing phone call, discussing...
This is ridiculous.
I could see you being a child and this...
Freaking you out.
But
I
as
mean,
an
it's...
adult...
I'm getting riveted.
I mean, it's riveting, but are you, like, believing it?
No. If I was immersed...
She's like, oh, I'm scared.
If I was immersed,
you get into it. I think, if you get super into it, it gets you a little bit on edge. I was thinking, like, even Sarah going into this knowing that she's acting and that this is all fake, you get those moments where, you know, it's like, you know that things are going to get tense and it's like, din, 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 din. You know, like...
Well, yeah, I grew up on
Goosebumps.
You
like
guys.
the Goosebumps music comes in and you know, like, something somewhere is going to make a noise and you're anticipating it and your heart starts racing a little faster. Like that I could totally see, but...
So, I, even with just a bloke talking to me,
yeah,
which is what's happening right now, I am getting immersed.
Yeah.
I'm getting sucked. We might have to watch this goddamn movie. That's what I'm getting at. We might have to.
Okay.
Because he's like, we'll go.
A memory from the area's past in Victorian times. Like a rather harrowing phone call discussing a memory from the area's past in Victorian times. Mother Seddons...
She was a baby farmer, like a childminder. She used to take kids in, but she used to kill them.
Whilst the two discuss this, back at the house, efforts are being made to get the family members out, especially the children, though the two seem very resistant to leave.
Come on, downstairs. Just outside. Yourself, you know.
Sarah attempts to talk to her studio-based colleagues, seeking advice on what to do, before this happens.
There are incredible noises coming from the walls and from the ceiling. Ah!
But that's not all. Pipes once again makes himself heard, but through Suzanne. And to add to the tension, Kim has gone missing. Sarah now dropping
scary,
any
right?
sort of professional pretense in her frantic search to find her.
I mean, you have to remember, everybody thinks this is going live.
Once she does, Pipes continues to manipulate things around them, including the lights.
There's definitely, like, I'm not saying you would watch this, like, if you're watching this and you think it's live, there's definitely parts that are going to freak you out. I can see that. I'm saying as an adult, you're going to see cracks and you're not going to be 100% convinced that this is real. I think it could maybe freak you out parts of it. Like, that voice was spooky. If I was in that house and that bitch did that to me, I don't care if you're 10 years old, you're getting yeeted. But there's also moments where you're like, this is bad acting. This is clearly not real.
So if you ever did get confronted with, like, someone trying to be spooky, you know, because we always see it in the movies and we see it, like, right now, how would you handle that situation?
As who?
As, like, I'm a person, this is a spooky demon thing. You said I would have yeeted that kid. I would have been like, hey, stop it right now. You're done. Go in your room. I would have dadded
yelled
that.
at them. Yeah.
I would have dadded that ghost out of there.
My reflexes are like, if I get scared, I swing just on reflex. So I would have punched the kid on accident.
I would have daddied that kid.
And then I would have been like, I don't know what we do from here.
Because I don't care if that ghost is like 3 million years old. Not in this household. Okay.
It's gonna be like, yes, Dad.
Yeah,
I'll find a new body. Yeah.
Get out. But I'm the devil. I don't care. Not here.
I'm the dad in this house.
Not under this roof, boy. It's like,
No, I mean, I think when you start to get like a little bit, that tension starts to arise and your heart starts to beat a little faster. I think once it gets to where your heart is beating a little faster, that's when it's like it's a lot easier to get scared.
yeah.
You're on edge, like everything, like when I try to scare you or when you try to like get me back and scare me. I know you're outside the door and that you're going to scare me, but I don't know exactly what second you're going to jump out. So sometimes I still get scared.
That's what happened.
No,
Literally 2 days ago.
I did scream. You did get me good. And I knew you were out there.
Literally 2 days ago. She looked at me and continued to yell as we're making eye contact. And that was a little weird. That was a little weird. Ah! I see you. You can stop now. I can see you. It's very... I got it good.
Replay. I did.
I got it good
Usually
for
is
my
not
son.
able to scare me at all.
She doesn't scare me, but she scares her son.
No, I scare you all the time.
But not as much as you scare, traumatize our child.
He doesn't get traumatized. He loves it.
I know.
He loves it.
And
He
it's
loves to be
ridiculous.
scared. He wants you to hide and pop out and scare him. He loves it. Steven hates being scared.
Yeah.
And he's very easy to scare, so it makes it all the more fun. You usually don't get me, but he got me good. I did it.
That was I held all the scare like I went to Monsters University just so I can get her back for me and my child. Okay, you guys? Just so I can get them, I went to scare school just to get this bitch back, okay?
I can't.
All right, you ready? Let's
ready.
continue with Ghostwatch. All right. Come on now.
Just go. I'll stop.
Whilst the
This
sound of
keeps replaying
screeching
in my
cats
head.
are echoing all around the place,
Right, where's it coming from?
Why are
it's
there
coming from the
cats?
cupboard, and it's time to see.
I don't know what that was, but where is it coming from? It's coming from the cupboard.
Right, where's it coming from?
It's coming from the cupboard, and it's time to see just what's in there. As the door opens by itself, we get a split-second look at what's inside.
Oh no.
Mike!
But we're
That
taken
was
aside
spooks.
as Mike from the camera crew is knocked out by a falling mirror, injuring him in the process. Before Sarah even has time to get help for Mike, the cupboard door is slammed shut, Suzanne trapped inside, claiming terrible things are happening to her.
Mom, help me! Don't leave me, Mom!
The link to the house goes completely dead, and Craig Charles is left to fill time and desperately lighten the mood, amidst the huge uncertainty as to what's happened.
It's on, we are definitely on. Sorry, there seems
Okay,
to be
we can't get it back.
bit of a balls up in TV speak, I think we can say.
When the feed is restored, it seems that everything has quieted down in the house, and some normality is resumed, at a great relief to those in the studio. It's time for one last caller, and this one holds the most important information of all.
Okay.
The lodger was their nephew, Raymond Tunstall. He used to tell me there was a woman on the inside of his body, taking over his thoughts and actions, making him do things he didn't want to do. He started to wear dresses.
The house was once occupied by a man, Raymond Tunstall, a man with several convictions against him, most of them involving children. Believing he was possessed by an evil woman, supposedly Mother Seddons, he took his own life in the cupboard under the stairs, which is where he supposedly is residing now, based on the experiences of the Early family.
Oh.
The caller also explains the origins of why Tunstall's face became so disfigured.
The cats were locked in, of course. They got hungry. They got to work. On his face.
Afterwards, after more disagreement between Pascoe and Parky, the doctor examines the screen in depth and realises the shocking truth.
This picture we're seeing now isn't live. This is just a cover.
A wind is blown throughout the studio, and Dr. Pascoe realises that Pipes has effectively won.
Created a seance. A massive seance.
As everyone attempts to evacuate the house,
massive seance.
Sarah and her remaining crew member desperately try to rescue Suzanne from under the stairs. In what's been described as one of the most eerie sections of Ghostwatch, in complete darkness, the infrared camera is brought into play, as audiences held their breath as to what may be found.
It's okay for you.
okay?
Oh, if something pops out.
Complete chaos begins to descend, not just on Fox Hill Drive, but back at BBC Television Centre. Lights begin to burst, objects are blown off surfaces and smashed to pieces, and when the door finally opens for Sarah to rescue Suzanne, this happens.
Sarah? Sarah?
Sarah is trapped, and the feed goes dead. In the studio, things are going from bad to worse. As everyone tries to evacuate, Michael Parkinson is left completely shocked and bemused, relaying the events to the audiences at home as the power in the studio fails and the lights gradually fade until there is nothing left. After some light is restored, Michael wanders aimlessly around the studio, and to everyone's shock, this happens.
544.
Michael Parkinson, one of Britain's best-known and well-loved presenters, is possessed by pipes. And that's the lasting image you're left with as the credits begin to roll.
How did he get from the house to the studio?
Yeah, how did that guy get from the house to the studio? Pipes.
He's like, I'm in Suzanne. Hold on, now I'm at the studio.
Yeah, see, they lost me when they came into the BBC studios.
Yeah, that's where it's like.
That's where you effed up there.
Yeah.
Probably terrifying.
Yeah.
Still, you know. Damn it, parking.
Watching it back, I think watching it in the moment for these people, I can understand why it was very scary. To
watching it 30 years later.
Yeah, like knowing it all is like.
But at the time, I'm sure.
The impact of Ghostwatch was immediate. Thousands of calls were placed to the BBC, many of them angry and outraged at how the Beeb, a trusted source of media for decades, could air something so horrific, so terrifying, and put its presenters and members of the public at risk. It all played out live on television after all, except it didn't.
Yeah, it did.
It is, of course, Halloween, and if you were with us for our Ghostwatch earlier, may I reassure you that it was just a story, and all's well here at Television Centre.
You may have already been aware of this, but I deliberately kept this fact about Ghostwatch until now to highlight its strengths and just what kind of impact it made back in 1992. Not a single second of Ghostwatch was live. All of it was pre-recorded across the summer of 1992.
Yeah, but it was presented as if it was.
Yeah.
So we knew that little bit of tidbit information.
But it was pre-recorded, so all of it was pre-recorded. So definitely, like the people that Craig was interviewing, like all that was set up. Because I was like getting blurred lines on some of that. Was like, in those instances, were any of those people, like, were they all planned, or what was any of that part real?
Mm.
No, it seems like it was all planned.
All planned. It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's shameful that like it was a movie and you should have just straight up said, "Hey, this is a movie."
Yeah.
And not tried to make it into like this live program. Like setting.
A thing having been planned, scripted, and shot just like the BBC would any other program. Yeah. Sarah Green wasn't trapped underneath a staircase, Michael Parkinson was not possessed by a ghost, and the entire story was a fabricated fiction, told in the style of a documentary program, a field that the BBC typically excelled in. This goes into the choice of casting also as mentioned before. Sarah Green had been a key feature on other watch programs such as Hospital or Airport Watch, so having her be one of the key presenters here would lend an air of credibility and believability as to what Ghostwatch was trying to do. Michael Parkinson, known to practically everyone at the time, presented Ghostwatch as he would any other program, not deviating too much at all from his regular style. The improvisational nature of the script helped massively, and the whole affair does have a whiff of feeling like it was filmed live, exactly as it was intended to feel. But despite this prowess of performance and structure to look like any other BBC programme, the backlash came, and it came fast.
Ghostwatch. My 11-year-old son was left shaking and physically sick after 10 minutes. I have a helpline for people in distress, and I received over 300 calls.
An arrogant and clumsy dissection of the paranormal, prejudice for the trivial purpose of providing family entertainment. A sick joke.
Remember before how I said BBC bosses originally wanted to not broadcast this programme at all? Well, director Leslie Manning revealed that just 2 days before transmission, they had to return to the editing suite to enact the compromise wanted by the bosses. That was that Ghostwatch begin with a series of very short credits, claiming who was starring and most importantly, that the program was written by an author, Stephen Volk. It was hoped by seeing these credits and the Scream 1 ident that preceded them that the fact Ghostwatch was a work of fiction would
They're like, you guys didn't read the fine print. That's your own doing.
Yeah.
be one ident that preceded them that the fact Ghostwatch was a work of fiction would be clearly communicated.
Yeah.
It seemed that method wasn't as effective as the BBC first thought. Given the slow burn nature of Ghostwatch, I can totally forgive viewers for getting the fact that this wasn't really a live program. Also, if you joined in late, you wouldn't have seen the credits at the beginning, so you could completely mistake what you're watching for something real and live.
It's true.
There was also the phone-in number, which at the time was a real number that many BBC programs gave to viewers for phone-ins, including Saturday Morning Kids show Going Live. Those who rang
Saturday
on the
Morning
night and
Kids
got
Show.
through would first hear a message saying that the show was fictional. So if you phoned up and heard that, then you can't complain that you thought it was real. I'm sorry. After that, they'd be given the chance to share their own ghost story. But the vast majority of callers just got the engaged tone and nothing more, as just 5 phone operators were available, massively understaffed for the countless callers who tried to get through. In
Gosh,
terms
I
of the
can imagine.
viewership, many were left distressed. Reportedly, even Michael Parkinson's elderly mother was one such concerned viewer, ringing the BBC to reassure her that her son was in fact not possessed by pipes. Various little announcements popped up on BBC One following transmission, reassuring viewers that everything was in fact alright. Sarah Green herself would appear on Children's BBC the following Monday to reassure any younger viewers that she wasn't in fact trapped in a cupboard under the stairs. There were many positive reactions to
Wow.
Ghostwatch, and we'll touch on that aspect of its legacy in just a moment. But unfortunately, there is one more final dark chapter that we do need to talk about.
What's that?
Many millions tuned into Ghostwatch, and one such viewer was Martin Denham, an 18-year-old factory worker from Nottingham. Suffering with learning difficulties and with a mental age substantially younger than his 18 years, Martin saw Ghostwatch and was horrified by what he saw. In his family home, a faulty central heating system caused the pipes within the house to knock, similar to some of the descriptions given in Ghostwatch. Unable to discern that the program was indeed fictional, Martin underwent severe distress, which unfortunately led to him taking his own life. His parents, April and Percy, blamed the BBC and Ghostwatch for effectively killing their son. The Broadcast
That's
Standards
terrible.
Commission, when tackling the case brought by the Denhams, gave this outlook.
That's
The BBC had a duty to do more than simply hint at the deception it was practicing on the audience. In Ghostwatch, there was a deliberate attempt to cultivate a sense of menace. They further stated that the presence in the programme of presenters familiar from children's programmes took some parents off guard in deciding whether their children could continue to view.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the producers of the film
It's like if you had Miss Rachel as Sarah Green.
Yeah, really.
You know what I mean?
I know. I can't even imagine. They literally chose people that would make the most impact on believing that this was real.
Scummy bastards.
Oh my gosh. That's so sad that kid took his own life.
Yeah. That like took a turn
Yeah.
that I wasn't expecting.
That's really bad.
film issued an apology, although claimed that Ghostwatch was airing in a drama slot after the 9 PM watershed, and with the opening credits, made it clear that the programme was not real, as did much of the written publicity about the show seen in listings magazines such as the Radio Times. Regardless of the arguments, the fact that a young person took their own life in response to a television programme is a tragedy, and arguably
is.
still represents the darkest element of Ghostwatch's legacy.
Oh, so sad.
That is.
This house has been the focus of an astonishing barrage of supernatural activity.
For the remainder of the 90s, after the initial furore died down, the British public largely forgot or didn't even know about Ghostwatch if they didn't watch the broadcast. It wasn't released to VHS or DVD until the year 2002, a whole 10 years after its showing on BBC One. Ghostwatch was never repeated on BBC One either.
So, you know what's good and bad about that is the fact that they didn't put it on video. I'm really surprised a lot of people didn't hear about it, considering like the controversy from it.
Yeah.
If you didn't watch it, then you didn't really hear about it. You would think that it would be, I guess though, like internet wasn't what it is. But like for that kid's parents to have to relive that.
Yeah.
And
it's
you know,
terrible.
like the VHS tape comes out, people start talking about it. they're like reliving that constantly after that.
Yeah, it's tragedy because you think about it like that too. The BBC wasn't really able to capitalize on that movie, so like they had that movie, they played it one time,
Mhm.
and that was it. So they weren't able to m- monetize it the way you would normal movies
Yeah.
because of this, and because it was so shocking. And I think it was like a BBC decision to deceive their viewers that caused that to happen. Because if you would have just been upfront about it a little bit more, I don't know. I don't know how to make it more real. Like to try to make it like, hey, this is a movie, not a live presentation. Because
I don't know what monetizing has to do.
why did you spend all that time making a movie and it receives so much backlash that you can't, like, there's a legend about it. You turn that movie into a legend because it's now been banned, right? The BBC banned it. This was so scary.
Yeah.
We can't release it until 10 years after. And then it becomes like this underground secret movie. You know what I mean? I'm just wondering why they did it. That's all.
Okay.
Like, why would you like have these presenters and, these actors do all this and you put it in such a way that like,
They probably didn't know that it was gonna get like the reaction that it got, I would imagine. Because I wouldn't imagine that they would spend their time doing that. Because I feel like, especially for the BBC, their purpose is to make money, to put
Yeah.
stuff out so they can monetize off of it. So they probably wouldn't have spent the time doing that if they thought it was gonna get the reaction it did.
my point of that is why make it seem like it's a live broadcast when you could have just made the Conjuring movie? You know what I mean? Like take all the studio aspect out of it and just have it like Sarah Green in the house. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Mm.
You guys get what I'm coming at?
Okay.
But I don't like, why do we need to have Lister out there interviewing fake people and have the phone numbers come up?
Because they were trying to make it look more real.
Yeah, it was stupid.
I mean, yeah, they probably knew that it was gonna scare people, and that was their intention. Because they're like, it's Halloween, right? Like
Yeah.
Halloween is like spooky. I mean, it seems like they purposely did that to scare people, but they probably didn't. They probably thought it was gonna scare people, but people weren't gonna actually think that it was real like it was. Like they made it seem, I mean.
And Pipes became a legend after this.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Fact that remains true to this day over 30 years later. In fact, it has never seen a repeat on any UK-based television channel ever. It was only as Ghostwatch became available on home media and the rapid rise of the internet, with sites and forums dedicated to the programme, that re-established its impact and its legend. The fact that more than 30 years later, people still talk about Ghostwatch and the power that it had over its audience, and indeed audiences today, is remarkable. People watch it today knowing it's not real. I watched it and I know it's not real, but it just pulls you in. It makes you suspend that disbelief even just for a second, thanks to familiar faces, groundbreaking techniques, and a sense of realism that has gone on to become a mainstay in the horror genre, particularly in found footage type films such as the Blair Witch Project. Ghostwatch has inspired the horror genre in several different ways, and many prominent horror filmmakers and creatives will cite the program as being an inspiration to them. Ultimately, Ghostwatch is a unique point in British TV history, attempting to blur the lines in between what's real and what's not, carried out by the professional and technical prowess of the BBC, made it all the more effective. It's an absolute must-watch, especially around Halloween. You can grab a copy on Blu-ray if you collect physical media, but it's also available on platforms like Shudder and even the Internet Archive. For a television program made on a small budget back in 1992, Ghostwatch not only shows what kind of power you can achieve with such restrictions, but also how you can take the audience into a horrifying world that they believe, even for just a second, could be frighteningly real.
Fum and the cats. Nice. You guys, that was Adam Martin's Ghostwatch, the banned BBC documentary that went too far. I think, Adam, for as monotone as you are, in my opinion, he presented this was a great episode. Like he presented a lot of interesting facts about Ghostwatch.
I think this is the type of video that it makes sense to be more monotone and
Yeah, it was, but it was still engaging and entertaining enough to suck me in. And
Yeah.
again, we weren't watching Ghostwatch. We were watching Adam Martin's AMTV's Ghostwatch, the band documentary that went to. So
Yeah.
this is like his documentary style. It's his documentary about this and explaining, giving us the summary, giving us the bits you needed to know. And he presented it in such a fashion that I was deeply engaged, you guys.
Yeah.
And I didn't
It
have
sucked
to
you in.
watch an hour and 30-minute long movie, Ghostwatch, to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a testament to Adam Martin's,
Yeah,
writing.
phenomenal job.
He did do a phenomenal job. I thought that where he needed to put segments in, he was able to put. I'm sure due to copyright, he would have put more
Yeah.
segments in there, and I get it. I bet, like, if we were to react to that movie and put it up on YouTube, we would get sued to death. Like,
Yeah.
we would get sued.
Our channel would 100% be taken down, would be sued.
BBC would be
there's
like,
no
"Oh,
way.
you
There's
did
literally
it."
no way.
Yeah. So there's no way. If we did watch this movie, I think it's going to have to be Patreon only or something like that. Maybe we'll do a Discord watch party, but
Yeah.
this was interesting. This was good.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I feel for the people that, were in distress when this happened and it came out, like trying to console your kids and tell them it's not real, especially at that impressionable age. Thank you. Where they're like, there's monsters under my bed, and they have those kind of fears. And then you watch this and you have to try to convince them and calm them down. And, obviously for that poor young man who was in such distress that he took his life, and families having to deal with all that is horrendous. And I'm very curious to the presenters of this movie, how people saw them for a while after, if they kind of had that, like, I trusted you type attitude towards them, if they got some backlash and things like that. Because, it said Sarah went on the following Monday and had to kind of just reassure the children that this, she wasn't locked in a cupboard and things like that. I would imagine that people wouldn't just be like, oh, it's okay, immediately after. So just the effects of it, I'm curious about how they handled that and how long they had to handle that.
Well, for them, it's like they're actors.
Yeah.
So I would have been like, hey, I was just playing a role in a movie. It's a movie, you guys. Like, simmer down.
Yeah, but if they're not doing that type of stuff usually, I mean,
I get it.
It's a completely different thing.
It's tough, and I'm curious. After watching this, I'm curious to ghost watch, and I kind of want to watch the movie now. I do the same thing. I feel, but how was TV watching back then in 1991? If you saw something distressing on the TV, wouldn't you change the channel or turn it the F off? Or was dad watching it and was like, screw you kids, we're watching Ghostwatch till its entirety?
Yeah, it's really hard to think about because, like we talked about, in the moment now, watching it 30 years later, we're like, you could see bits and pieces that you're like, okay, this is obviously not real, you guys. Like, what are you doing? But it's in the same aspect, we would go to the movies and watch like The Conjuring or things like that. And there's moments where you get scared. You especially don't handle horror movies very well. You get very scared. And so in those moments, you're like scared, but it's not real. It's just a movie, but you're like scared shitless still at the same time. So it's like, obviously I can completely understand people feeling that way. So for us, now to be like, okay, that part's really silly, but it's like in the moment and you think it's real, then that just makes it extra scary.
But what I'm saying is, as you're watching this in the comfort of your own home on your own television, if things are becoming like, where the onus of the parents and like there has to be some responsibility. It can't all be on the BBC.
I know what you're saying.
And-
I was making a point separate from that. Yeah. If you can see your child getting stressed out, why would you not just turn it off?
Turn it off.
But I feel like probably parents would have, and I feel like, I mean, I would hope either like A, the parents weren't in the room to see what their kid was watching and know that their kid
Yeah.
was getting terrified, or B, it was like damage is done by that point. When your kid is visibly upset, you turn it off, but then it's like damage is done. They're already really upset. I mean, I really think and hope that
I would have hoped
you
that
would turn it off.
From what it sounds like, there was like a slow, like building pressure of the scariness within this movie. Like it was probably like a slow trickle into getting scarier until an ultimate climax of scary at the end. The other thing too is this is 1991, so I'm thinking those big ass CCTV or CRTs, what they got right here. I'm thinking of like most households didn't have a TV in every room. You probably only had a TV in the living room.
Yeah.
But I digress. This was distressing for millions of people, and I can 100% see why. What a time to be alive, though, let me say.
Well, and especially in a time where they didn't really have, like they had said, these kind of paranormal type things weren't really a big thing. So if especially something new and scary like that, it makes it extra scary because it's kind of unknown. So yeah.
You had things like, I'm pretty sure in the 80s, the Amityville Horror in New York happened.
I mean, yeah, things happened, but they weren't as prevalent as they are now.
Yeah, it's true. But all right, you guys, let us know, where were you when Ghostwatch was a thing? I was about 1 year old, still in my nappy, so I didn't watch it.
Did you watch it? Yeah.
Did not watch it.
When it came out.
Did you watch it? And did you watch it on TV when it first aired, or were you one of the people that got it in 2002 and after, and just like, because you wanted to see this mystery band show?
And if you watched it, so if you didn't watch it live when it happened, if you did watch it like after it came out on VHS, I'm assuming you probably knew at that point that it was not real. Did it still kind of have that same effect on you? That you were scared, or were you just like, I know this is fake and it's just whatever. It's kind of humorous at this point.
And one other question. If you think that, because we saw that there was Hospital Watch and stuff like that. If it didn't receive the backlash that it received, do you think that it would have potentially gone on? Would
Like
it have
carried into a
continued on?
series?
Yeah.
So?
Leave down in the comments. Let us know what you think. Thank you. AMTV will have links for Adam's channel down below, so you can check out more documentaries that he's done. There's some interesting stuff just by his end screens I'm seeing. The ITV Strike of 1979, if you guys want to go check that out. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.